Gangnam Style.
Hmm. Hello everyone, welcome back to Kimchi Crime. This is our second week I guess a third time at least that we haven't done it consecutive weeks. We've always been missing out. We've been doing it every second week. Hey, SJ.
We just getting sick, man.
Just
We're all
sick.
just getting sick. We're getting that new stuff now. COVID is done and over with. Everyone's getting that mycoplasma pneumonia or something like that. So
Yeah, that's the new stuff. That's the cool stuff that you can get now.
yeah, the cool stuff. The one where your cough lasts for a month. I'm just getting over it right now. And I know that for our listeners out there, you might not know, but Walter had to do a whole lot of editing last a couple of weeks ago because I was coughing so much. But
Yeah.
man, watch out for that, man. It's crazy stuff that's going around.
Yeah, and as you listeners probably already know that SJ has his own radio show, so that's going to affect your radio show every so often. Luckily, you have a cough button though. Yeah,
I have a cough button, but the problem is like when we have other guests, so we can't block off their microphones, so the cough still goes in, and so for the first time in 14 years of doing broadcast, man, I had to take days off because I lost my voice. I was coughing too much, and it's just, dude, I'm getting old, man.
That's what happens. That's what happens. We're both in our mid-30s now, trying just to survive in this world that is full of all these diseases that we
Seriously.
didn't realize were going to happen. But anyway, today we're going to mix it up a little bit. Usually, what we do is SJ and I, we write up a script and then we go back and forth between each other. But today we thought we might do something different. So I'm actually going to tell you, SJ, like you're one of our listeners, about a case I found very interesting, and it's something that is recent. And this one isn't in South Korea, but a South Korean committed this crime. So I'm kind of breaking the rules a little bit here because we do the Korean crimes, right? But I also think we should also focus on maybe some Koreans who've committed crimes overseas as well.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of them, right?
there's a lot.
Yeah, but I think it's cool because I think the one that you're covering today, and for our listeners out there, I'm not in the loop of anything right now, and we were trying something new right now. I'm gonna learn the cases and stuff like that. I'm gonna give my feedback and stuff, but you did briefly tell me before we started this what we're going to talk about. And I have to tell you, I don't know too much about this guy.
Let me start you off with a little question. You went to university, right?
Yeah.
Did you stay in a dormitory?
I did for until, let's see, my first 3 years I was in a dorm. So I've always
by
had
yourself?
No. I had a roommate. I had at least one roommate.
And tell me about some of your roommates that you like. Did you get along really well, or was there a roommate that you didn't get along with at all?
Oh, dude, man, I had 3 different roommates in the 3 years that I was in a dorm. Because my 4th year, I was just like, dude, I can't do roommates anymore, man.
Really?
And so I just left. I just went to an apartment. I just got a single studio apartment, and I lived on my own. But the thing is no matter how close you are with somebody, you start living with them, you start finding flaws. Or they start finding flaws in you, and it's like you can't bear each other anymore.
I've never dormed, but I have had roommates before. Like not roommates, sorry, housemates, should I say?
Sure.
In Australia, I've had like a bunch of housemates, and I've had lots of problems. I mean, they were good people. It's just the personalities were just different for that matter.
Personality too, and I think it was just man. Let me tell you about one roommate. This guy was his family was filthy rich, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes, and he was really into himself, and he goes, I got to do that Shawshank Redemption photo. Right? I was like, what are you talking about? You know that scene where he comes out of the pipes and it's raining and he's kind of on his knees and going, wow, he's like, I got to take that shot. It's raining outside. I was like, okay, you're freaking weirdo, but go ahead. And then he goes, let me get your jeans, right? And I was like, what do you need my jeans for? He's like, my jeans are too expensive. Your jeans are cheap. So let me just, I could get them wet. And I was like, dude, what the hell, man? I've had weirdos, man. I've had weirdos before, but it didn't last long.
So today we are going to talk about a case. Now, the case is under the name Sa Jimin, or as America has been calling him because it happened in America, Min Sha.
That's weird.
A. Now, in Korean, we know that like Sa is not a common like family
No,
name.
I've
Mm,
heard very few people have that last name, Ha, right? But then
right.
like it's even more confusing because the English pronunciation is Sha. It's SHA.
Yeah,
I've
SHA.
never heard that before, man.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's not unusual for like Western countries to get the Korean names mixed up. I mean, the most common one is like the one our last name, right? Like
Please.
Lee, but it's actually E in Korean.
Right.
But yes, Sa or Sha is very, very different. But his name is Jimin. And now we're going to talk a little bit about his case. And let me just obviously give you a very, very upfront answer, or not answer, I guess upfront uh, spoiler alert that
Okay.
he does kill his roommate, right? That's the reason why we're here today.
All right. So I take
So,
that back. I've had bad roommates, but there's no killer involved with this.
yeah, so we are going to talk about Saji Min, and this is the location of Purdue University in
Oh, good school.
Indianapolis. Yes, in India, US. Do you know anything about this university?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, dude, I love college basketball, college football, and stuff like that. And Purdue, like you said, I think it's in Indiana, right?
Yep,
Indianapolis.
yep, that's correct.
It's in the Midwest. Good school. I mean, they got a good football program. They actually have a very good basketball program. But school wise too, I think it's one of the better, I think, Midwest schools out there. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, whoever goes there, great student.
That's correct. So it's actually a great engineering school. And I didn't know this, but Indiana, I've never been to America, but after doing some research, it's well known for corn, soybeans, poultry, and get this, popcorn. So I don't know like how a country or no, sorry, a state could be well known for popcorn. I mean, if you're known for corn, popcorn, of course, but
Right.
it's an interesting thing anyway. And we are talking about an engineering student. And that's where our engineering international student, Sa Jimin or Jimin Sa or Sha, decided he would go to major in cyber security. Now, he was in his third year. Now, cyber security sounds quite difficult, if you ask me. I mean, I'm going to point out that is quite a difficult subject, and it might come into play a little bit later as to how intelligent this person is.
Sure.
Yep. So now he's 23 years old, and he comes from Seoul, South Korea. And just by his appearance, have you seen any photos of him by any
I've seen
chance?
pictures. Again, I mean, I try to do as little research as possible, right, to not get in
Mm,
the loop. But yeah, he's the only thing is, so if he's 23 years old, like he's not a graduate student. Is he a graduate student?
I believe that he is in, I've mentioned this somewhere. Let me keep going in the story and it will come
Yeah,
up eventually. But yes, he's a short but stocky built guy. Now,
yeah.
us Koreans, we're not really tall, but he definitely works out. You can see he's got quite large arms and he kind of walks a bit like he's a tough guy. But
Sure.
he came off as a very soft-spoken person when he was interviewed. This is after the killing by reporters who asked him to say something to, the victim's family. Now, I'll get into that a little bit later. Now, he graduated from Lighthouse Christian Academy, that's also located in Indiana, in 2019. So it is believed that Jimin spent most of his latter schooling years in the city of the West, Lafayette. Is that how you pronounce it?
Lafayette.
Lafayette,
Yeah.
as that is where both the Lighthouse Christian Academy and Purdue University is. Now,
So
at
like
Purdue,
he's actually from like a well-off family, man. It's not like he's like not from, because number one, he's a international student, right? Number
mhm,
two, he's going to a private school, and I'm
yep,
assuming the whatever life, Christian school. That's a private school that costs tens of thousands of dollars per year. So this guy's got money.
yeah. I actually looked it up. The Lighthouse Christian Academy does look like one of those quite expensive
You don't
private
even have to look
schools.
at it, man. It sounds expensive. It sounds expensive.
Sounds very Korean because a lot of families who go to the States, a lot of them are Christians, to be honest with you, and they
Yeah,
build
but
this huge community around like Christian like beliefs and everything.
Yeah, but then like not all Koreans can afford a private Christian school. That's the thing. And so he's a little bit different, I would say.
Let's talk about the victim now. Now, the victim's name is Varan Manish Cheddar. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Chheda. Now, this person is a 20-year-old. Now, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Hoysia, who studied at
Hoosier.
Hoosier.
Dude, man,
Hoosier.
you're getting all American on us here. So Hoosiers, that's the University of Indiana, Hoosiers.
Yeah, the Hoosier, Hoosier.
Yeah,
I believe.
Hoosiers.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm terrible at the Americans. Any Americans that are watching, which I know that a majority of our listeners are American, I'm super sorry. I'm from Australia, so I don't know any of your pronunciation, and therefore just spare me.
Dude, we butcher all the Australia one. It's fine,
That's
man.
true.
It's fine.
We've got terrible ones. But yes, anyway, he studied data science and was in his 4th year of the degree. Now, remember, he's only 20 years old.
Yeah.
And he's in the 4th year of his degree. Now, Varun was said to be a kind and peaceful guy. I believe his background is from the Asia side. I don't want to say which country, but he was East Asian. But when I was listening to his parents speak and when I was listening to his mother speak, they spoke very fluent American style English. So I would say he's like maybe 3rd generation or 4th generation, whatever. Sure. So he was extremely smart across the board, and who was also an avid gamer, but also was a cross-country runner for his university as well. Jeez. So this kid is, a very talented kid. He was very gifted, 20 years old, and already in his senior year in data science degree. The fact that he died is just a complete waste of a talented life. Now, according to a close friend, Varun never mentioned Jimin in talks with him. So it seemed that Varun and Jimin never really knew each other very well. Because, when there's someone strange that you're living with, you get the hint, right? Like jeans man that you had. And
no, and you know what? The way that the dorm selection goes, if it's anything like what it was like in college for me, it's either you choose your roommates, or if you don't have anyone to live with. And it's unusual. It's actually also very rare to have a 4th year live in the dorm. Usually like kids want to just kind of like move out. It's cheaper to live in an apartment. Also, there's more freedom with apartments. You could go out partying, you could do house parties and things like that. You can't do dorms. But it's a little bit unusual that a 4th year is still getting random roommates, because I'm almost certain that they were randomly selected.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because other than the fact that, because my first year I roomed with the guy I knew in high school, and then my 2nd year I roomed with the guy that I met in college, a good buddy of mine, and then 3rd year and so forth, and then so after you could actually choose. But the fact of the matter is, I think they were just complete strangers that met together. And if they're strangers, I mean, things don't go well. I mean, they don't really click with stuff. Yeah, I don't see why not. Why they don't really talk about each other outside.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yes, they were complete strangers, and I will get into a little bit of how close they were and how close they weren't.
Sure.
But do you think you're pretty good at reading someone, like whether they're bad or good?
Geez, I mean, I've had like 2-3 bad roommates. I can't say I'm pretty good at reading people. But one thing for sure is I'm one of those people that say, there's science behind the way that people look, their facial structures, and the way that they look. Dude, this guy's Hajimin does not look like a very friendly guy.
Yeah.
He
doesn't smile.
No, he doesn't. And no, this guy looks like he looks like a thug, man. That's what he does.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that you were saying he was very soft-spoken, because I didn't see any of his interviews. But I'd say I'm somewhat good in reading people, I guess. Why do you ask?
Well, okay, so since there was no early signs of concerns for Run, I found it very interesting because, like you said, sometimes you can kind of get like what we call I guess nunchi, but like a feeling of somebody like when they're a little bit dangerous or just a little odd. Now I'll get into why he may appear. No, but he actually does talk about some things that make him very odd, which I will get into a little later. I mean, like I said before, I've never dormed with someone in university. It wasn't really a thing with my university. But since you're so close, I would imagine that, you would understand that there's some strange behaviors. But anyway, maybe we could assume that Jimin and Varane just kept to themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what I would do. Like I try and keep to myself, especially that close together, because literally those dorms are then they're not that big, are they, SJ?
No, they're not that big. And depending on like, again, like I remember in my university, there was either an open double or a split double. And if you have a split double, at least there's something in the middle of the room that basically divides you two. But a lot of the rooms are open doubles, which means that you're basically sharing just one room. And so there's not a whole lot of privacy. But again, I don't know how the dorms in Purdue where they were staying. Maybe they have a different room because there were seniors and things like that. But there's not a lot of privacy.
Well, I actually found some pictures of the dorm, so I'm going to put them right up in our video.
Sure.
But yeah, let's get down to the crime. So it's October 5th, 2022. A recent start to the new term at roughly 12:44 a.m. at the McCutcheon Hall dorm. Now, the morning of the 4th of October, so the day before, Varane's mother drove him to Purdue University after a long weekend at home with his mother and father and younger sister. Now, according to the mother, everything seemed normal at the time, and later that night, he texted his mother at around 11:45. Remember, the murder took place at around 12:44, so this is 30 minutes before it happened.
Sure.
And there's no warning, uncomfortable feelings. As far as we know, nothing was said but, good night, I love you forever, and yeah, so forth and so on. Now, it was reported between the hours of 11:44 and 12:44, Varane was playing computer games with a friend, or some friends, should I say. According to one report I found, there was a sudden scream, then a silence on the other end of the headset. But this was only one report, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that happened. I couldn't find any other report saying that there was a scream on the other end.
Okay.
But it does make a lot of sense because what we do know is that Varane was stabbed multiple times, which led to his death at around the 12:44 a.m. mark. Now, you're a gamer, SJ.
Well, I try.
You try, but like if you were to hear a scream on the other end of the line, what would you do?
I mean, it depends, man. Like if I'm playing like a first person shooter game and then you're screaming and you got the microphones on, I thought maybe, you got killed by somebody. You're not going to assume right off the bat, dude, I think the guy I'm playing with just got killed or something like that. That's the last thing you think about, right? I mean, it must have been something related to the game or something.
That's the thing, right? Like it is one of those situations where you are playing a game, and from what I hear, he was into a lot of those. I forgot which. No, I'm thinking of you. Diablo was the game you played.
Dude, that's the game that I play. Yeah.
That's it. But I don't know which game he was into. But yes, I can imagine things get very tense and heated up, and sometimes you scream. So
yeah.
If you are on the other end, it might not seem unusual for a scream to happen, but I guess the scream might have just been a bit different because it was, a stabbing. But yes, there was a 911 call made. But who do you think made the call, SJ?
I mean, the other person on the other line, the other side of the game. I mean, because it seems like they're playing a game that requires like microphone and stuff like that. And so if that person, our victim's friend, heard the screaming from the other side while they're playing games, and then all of a sudden there's no, you're obviously going, hey, is everything okay? Are you there? And then there's no response. I would call the police.
Yes. So you're actually wrong there, but you could also be right.
Walter's being as nice as possible. He's going, dude, no, you're wrong, man. Instead of going, you're wrong.
It's okay. You could be right as well. But actually, the killer, Jimin,
he made the call.
He made the call first. Now he called 911 and he said that he has killed somebody. There was another 911 call also made, most likely from possibly another student,
Okay.
or like you said, on the other end of the gaming line. Uh, why do you think he would call 911 on himself though?
I mean, there's two ways, right? I mean, there's some
Mm,
people that might want to make it sound like someone else killed them and
mm,
make it as innocent as possible and saying, listen, I found my roommate here stabbed to death. And I called the police. And so I can't be guilty because I'm the first one to call the police. Or number two, sometimes, look, again, these guys are not like born killers, right? Like,
mm,
Sa Jimin, I don't know what his background is. For me, it tells me he's from a very well-off family. He's never
mm.
really had, because we talked about some of these other killers before, right?
Yeah.
In our podcast where they're all from like very poor families. They need
Mm,
money. They're stealing and things like that. He's not. He doesn't seem that kind. And so I think for him to, I think he lost it at one point. It could be
mm.
because, dude, he's just trying to sleep and he has his roommate playing video games late at night, gets really upset, and then just stabs him. And then once he sees the blood, it's a big wake up. Like, oh my goodness, what the heck did I just do? And
Mm.
maybe just call the police out of guilt.
Yeah, that's a very good answer, I think. But
He's
here's
gonna
the
say no
thing.
again. He's gonna go, no, you're wrong.
Well, let's talk a little bit before we get into it. Let's talk a little bit about these two, the victim and the offender's relationship. Now, I did
Yeah.
talk about it before, but according to reports, it was a new term or semester, whatever you guys call it. I don't know when university starts or
What
finishes.
so what date is it then?
It was October 5th.
That means that it's just the start of a brand new year.
Yeah, okay. So what we also know is that Jimin and Varun were new roommates. That's how we know
Okay, then
that.
yeah, definitely. So they've probably only known each other for about a month then.
But that's quite interesting, right? So that the two didn't seem to have any troubles, as he was never mentioned to family or friends.
No.
Most police have said that this attack was unprovoked and are still trying to find a motive. According to the medical examiner's office, it was a one-sided attack. So I want to bring my very small knowledge of criminology degree into this, and I'm going to make a victimology. Now, if anyone knows what a victimology is, it's the actual study of the victim and how this victim might have passed away. Now, this is just going by the evidence that I got from the public and the news reports, right? So it was said that Varane was playing his video games. Now, just going by how typical gamers play, we assume that he was either sitting down, he had headphones on, he had his
Yeah.
mic on. So he was basically nothing was happening behind him as far as he knows, right?
Yeah.
It being a dorm, there are two locations that Varane could be sitting. Now, when I looked at the photos, and I'll put them up, either on his bed or at the desk. Usually dorm desks face towards the walls, right?
Yeah.
SJ, usually? Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how you put it, but yeah.
Yeah, but by going off the pictures I've looked at of the dorms of Purdue University, specifically the McCutcheon Hall dorm, it appears that the desk can be moved up against the wall or the bed. Now, again, this is all speculation. It could have been completely different in his room. Now, on the chance that the desk was on the wall and going by pictures of the chairs, in some of the dorms, the chairs are actually like, as you can see, my chair's quite high up behind me, right?
Yeah.
Their chairs are just the basic ones that
No,
will
it's low,
probably,
yeah.
yeah, come up to your chest or so. So his body would have been exposed from the chest up.
Sure.
So this could leave Jimin to stab him in the upper back or the shoulder or even the chest and stomach area. So if he goes around him, again, all speculation. If you also take the statue, like of both the victim and the offender, there is a clear difference between the body size. I mean,
Yeah.
Jimin
He's
was
a stocky guy. Yeah.
he's a stocky guy, and you haven't probably seen a picture of Varane yet, but he is quite slim. Okay, he's
Sure.
very, yeah, and he's younger than Jimin, and he's just, his frame is, though athletic in the sense of the cross country, he's very thin. So he would have had a very difficult time to fight back. Now, this comes back to what the police were saying. It was a one-sided attack. What do you think about this, SJ?
No, dude, man. Like again, I've said I've had weird roommates, but you
Mm,
don't go into playing, let's say, a video game. It's just another night, and you don't expect your roommate to come from the back and start stabbing you to death. Like it just, you don't expect that to happen, right? And even the fact that Veron never really told his parents or his family about him having like a weird roommate or anything like that. Oftentimes, like if you have like a weird roommate, you tell some of your close people, like, this guy's a little off. I'm not comfortable living with this guy. But it just doesn't seem like there wasn't any trouble between these two guys. And it was just something must have triggered Jimin.
It kind of also reminds me of our very first case. Like maybe Jimin was also just curious.
Dude, like out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Like
out of nowhere.
I have no idea. Like as they said, they're still looking for a motive. Well, like we mentioned, he called himself in. Jimin called himself in. He was immediately arrested and taken to I think it's pronounced Tippecanoe county.
No idea.
Yeah, county, where he was met by reporters. And his first words to the media was, "I love my family and I was blackmailed."
Do you have anything to say to the victim's family?
Tell us why you did it.
You're good, man. Keep going.
Do you have anything to say? Anything you want to say?
Keep going.
I was blackmailed.
What'd you say?
I was blackmailed.
You were blackmailed? Can you explain why? Why?
Huh?
Yeah. So that sentence in its own, we don't have much more on that. But he said he was blackmailed. That's the first, I guess, point of like, is he just being a little bit crazy at the moment? Is he trying to act crazy? We don't know yet.
Like blackmailed by Veron, or like mailed by someone else, and the only way that you're gonna get away with this is if you kill your what?
That's the thing. Here's what I think it might have been. I think what happens is usually, like, I've never obviously killed anyone, but when you're in a very high intense situation, you sometimes just blur, like word vomit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what
Absolutely.
it was. I think he just didn't know what to say at the time. I think like he was hoping, a shred of hope was like, if I say something that might, give me some credit, people won't look at me in a bad way. But he said he was blackmailed. Now,
no, it's kind of like the first case again. Going back to the first case here, I know you were talking about the curiosity killer Chung Yu-jung, but
yeah,
even with her, she didn't really have a criminal record prior to her killing somebody, right? And so, like, when she got arrested, one of the things that she blurted out was, "My stomach hurts. I got to go to the hospital." Like random stuff that will try to get them out of trouble. And you might be right. Out of all the things that he could have said, he could have just probably been like, I got blackmailed, and that's what I did it.
It did, like, when he did say it, he did look very, very serious about it. But when, I don't know, I'm not very good at reading people, but when he did say it, it just was very hard for me to believe. Now, according to doctors, Jimin does meet the criteria for schizophrenia.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, he has had his trial postponed due to his mental state. Now, he said to be non-compliant to take his medication, even after the court ordered him to. However, from what I found out, even if the court orders you to, you still have the right to not take it. It's you by your own will, right? A new trial was set for the date of December 8th, which just passed about a week ago. But once again, Jimin was deemed unfit to stand trial. Now, in order for one to be deemed fit to stand trial, the defendant must have a mental ability to understand what they are being charged for. And if they can't understand, they're deemed unfit. And this is what Jimin has been doing. Now, here's where it gets strange. And if it hasn't gotten strange already, according to one news source, Jimin believes he is in the CIA.
Dude, this guy, he's on, though. Dude, something's wrong with this guy, man.
There's definitely something wrong with him. And now this is currently a case that is still ongoing.
But the crazy thing here again is, like, I'm not dude, schizophrenia is like a serious stuff, right? And you see signs of that. People kind of go in and out of schizophrenia, and you would assume that, because this is October, and the school semester starts at the end of August, you had a good 1.5, maybe 2 months with this guy. Something must have been an off, man. Veron must have just said something, but it was just like a one-off thing. And that one time he goes crazy, he goes off killing him. I think he might be crazy, man. I think he might have schizophrenia.
Yeah, definitely. Well, according to the doctors, he does meet that criteria, but Unfortunately, we don't have an end to this story at the moment, but it's something that I'm going to continue following until we do have an answer, and we'll definitely give updates in future videos. But just to end it off, the public and family response was to Farhan's death. Well, the whole Purdue campus was at the campus memorial service to his honor. His father and mother also attended the service at the university, even going as far as to make a brave speech just a week after the crime occurred. Letters and tears poured in from students who knew him and others who didn't as well. Now, either way, we have to wait and see. And I'll keep everyone updated on the trial when it eventually happens. At the moment, Jimin is currently in a state mental health facility.
So, I mean, it's not like he faked it or anything like that. I mean, because that's the other thing, right? You could easily, or I can't say easily, you could try to fake schizophrenia, and you could try to fake the fact that you're a bit crazy. But all that aside, I know this is not kind of not related. I don't know how things were in university in the United States, but I remember in my school there was a policy, right? So I found out this was my sophomore year in college. No, it happened twice. So freshman year in college, right? I'm a freshman starting new, right? And then we had school newspapers called the Daily Orange, and on the first week there was a kid who killed himself inside the dorm. He basically tied himself up with like a plastic bag. He suffocated himself and stuff like that. And then his roommate found him. So the policy was that roommate who discovered his roommate dead by suicide, he was allowed to go home and he gets an automatic A. He got an automatic A. Yeah, because I mean, there's no way he's going to be able to go back to class, man. Like that's traumatizing. And then my second year, my sophomore year, I remember, and this was on the dorm right next to us. This guy, he had a young kid, heart attack, died, discovered by his roommate. His roommate, what happens to him? Sent home. He gets an A for that semester. Wow. I know, and I'm not trying to say, man, dude, so lucky, your roommate drops dead and you get an A. But it's weird. It's a weird policy that they have. But think about how traumatizing it would be because they're random roommates, man. Random roommates happen. But then, of course, unfortunately for Varen, he was roomed with a guy who had mental illness. And I don't know how I feel about, Sha Ji-min, because he's a killer, but he's also have mental issues.
Yeah, it is a very interesting one. Well, it's a very interesting case at the moment, and I'll be interested to see where it goes, because obviously the first thing that many people try to go for is that insanity plea. Now,
yeah,
I know that in Australia you can't actually plea for that, but I don't know about America. If anyone knows, any listeners know, if you
but then even if you plead insanity, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be held captive. You're not being released into the public. You're going to be held in, I think, in a mental institution instead of prison, I think is what goes on.
Well, I guess that would be better than prison for many people, I
guess.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's yes and no, right? I mean, some of the craziest stuff go into like a criminally mental institution. So I mean, you can't tell what's better and what's not. So it's still, I mean, this is a terrible thing that I think it just kind of came out of the left field and no one saw this happening, saw this coming.
That was the interesting part for me, was that there were no signs at all. And it like there's just no talk. I mean, they were new roommates, but still I thought that you could probably just get maybe a hint of something different from the other person, but maybe they just went about their own business and were like, you do you and I'll do me and we'll just be roomies. But anyway, that will have to wrap it up for this episode.
Yeah, let's get some updates next time, man.
We're definitely going to get some updates, and we'll be doing, I think I like this this one-way sort of reaction kind of video. So, and I know that SJ will have a story for us the following video. So maybe that will be either in 1 week or 2 weeks or whenever, because this is actually coming up to the Christmas holiday break.
That's right. That's right. Well,
so we'll figure it out, and just wait until we come out with something new.
Awesome.
Anyway, so that wraps it up. If you like that, please remember to like and subscribe, and always give us feedback on whether you like our podcast, or even if you don't like our podcast, we're big boys. We can take it. Anyway, thanks very much for listening. I'm Walter.
I'm Min Sha.
And we'll see you next time.